I would like to start talking about what is Lean and Six Sigma. This is something many people ask about. So I would start just saying that Lean Six Sigma is about speed and quality. We are always talking about Lean, but maybe we don't know exactly what's that about. So I would say that very simple, Lean Six Sigma is speed and quality. Now the question is, where do we need speed and quality? Well, in this case, I'm going to refer to speed and quality on how to recover a company. Speed and quality about how we design the new future. Speed and quality on how we make decisions in these difficult times. So lean recovery is about how are we going to recover and what's going to be our response to minimize this disruptive impact of disaster and crisis. So normally we talk about lean in terms of Toyota production system. Toyota, as you may know, this is the creator of the Toyota production system, also call it lean manufacturing, any type of process without waste. So Toyota recovery system is about the organizing and managing kind of disasters. In this case, Kaizen leaders are the disaster managers. And in this case, Toyota has recovered more faster than any other competitor because they are ready and they prepare in advance of what's going to happen. But once the disaster is happening, they used to standardize work. They combine workers' activity, developing a multifunctional workforce. So, for example, in the earthquake that happened in Japan some years ago, Toyota just sent some of their workers to work with their suppliers. So it's a very easy and fast way to think and rethink the way they work and they react to those kind of situations. They duplicated production lines because they realized that having just a specific product model in one country is not good to have it because if the supply chain stops, then everything stops. So now they duplicated production lines in different countries so they never stop supply. They conduct transparent communication and optimize collaboration with suppliers in real time. So this is about applying strategic and tactic tools. It's not just reacting when the situation comes. So in pre-disaster companies, agile companies, they prepare in advance by designing a Hoshinkanri, which is a strategic plan when they consider this kind of situations to happen. And when they develop a prevention plan, they use TPM to protect equipment, specifically equipment that they need to recover. They conduct risk analysis with the FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis, to have a very objective assessment, a risk mapping. They develop a business continuity plan, which is going to be a document, very important document that is going to let everybody knows in the company what to do in every specific situation. So for that, they develop a troubleshooting schema where everybody knows what to do by using work instructions. They use TWI, training within industry, to transfer the specific knowledge everybody needs to have in order to react to the crisis situation, and so on. So all the management tools and also all the tactical tools that you learn in different certification levels, they can be used and implemented in a disaster recovery situation. In this case, we talked about a disaster. In this case, we measure the level of impact. Right now, I wanted to show you in my presentation, but I don't know what's happening with the presentation. But I want to show you the curve that we always track about cases is something we call it histogram. And this histogram right now is showing that we are reaching the maximum point where the level of impact is the higher possible. So that's why the world right now is closed. So in this case, we are going to start the phase of recovery. We are going to have this recovery phase divided in two different phases. First is going to be the immediate recovery phase and then the distant recovery phase. Of course, we are going to talk about danger, but also we are going to talk about opportunity. So I'm going to talk about 6 specific priorities. First, protect people. Second, model income and expense scenarios. Third, protect against income reduction. Number 4, how to stabilize operations to the new normal. Number 5, how to reduce expenses and conserve cash. And finally, how to prepare to recovery. So in the number 1, protect people, we are right now designing our new normal. In this case, we design our home office. Many people right now is working at home. Of course, many people keeps working in the value streams where the value is generated for the people. But in this case, we have to think, how are we going to design our home office in terms of space, in terms of technology we require, in terms of time management, because this is something that really happened in a moment, and we were not prepared to design our office at home in terms of how are we going to establish our working hours. Instead of using time for transportation, right now we are going to use it to work at home. How are we going to conduct virtual meetings? And what activities can be automated now that we are in the 4th industrial revolution by using robots and so on? All the repetitive activities can be automated. So I wanted to show you some screens, but of course, if you want, I'm going to send you my presentation so you can see the pictures I prepared for you. But also, offices are going to change. We have clients that right now are thinking and rethinking the way they are going to redesign their offices. For instance, we have a client that used to work in a office activities, but right now they realize that many activities that can be done at home. So they require only a meeting room, which this is gonna completely change the cost structure, because right now they are gonna rent only a meeting room with some workstations for the people that normally go for some meetings or something, but most of the work can be done and will be done at home. And in order to protect people, in the past we were talking about implementing housekeeping, keep every area in our process, in our work, very, very clean and well organized. So in this case, that is not an option. Become a productive company is not an option anymore, it's a requirement. So that's why if we want to protect our people, first of all, we have to ensure that everyone works in a completely clean and organized environment. We do that by using 5S or housekeeping, and keeping only the value stream personnel working in the specific places, and work at home as much as possible. In terms of protecting people, there is another tool that we normally recommend, that this is maybe the most critical and important tool that we recommend. It's called Value Stream Office. And this is a place where all the critical managers work in the everyday life. So in my presentation, I had a picture where we have a table in the middle of this office where all these managers from different areas or functions talk about important and make decisions, and that's the place where they normally work. Sometimes this is called the war room. Right now, some companies that are moving to attack the disaster, now they are moving to talk about the war room. But this is the war room. This is a tool that normally you used to have in a lean environment where communication happens directly. So in this value stream office, it's important to maintain customer relationships working remotely. Establish this value stream office also as a virtual war room, and also ensure compliance with all safety and hygiene regulations and recommendations. The most important part of this recovery part is communication, constant communications among suppliers, among customers, and among all employees. Number 2, model income and expenses scenarios. Number 1, I would say this scenario, I put it as an example. When we grow from 3% to 0%, we call it level 1 damage. This is when we have a noticeable change in customers' behavior, a specific decline in revenue, but also we manage some disruption in operations and business continuity. So for this kind of a scenario, we had some examples of actions. So for example, modify marketing spending to optimize demand. So marketing is going to be one of the essential activities, but we have to do it in a different way. Normally, marketing campaigns were focused on creating awareness. In this case, we are going to move to a more specific and direct response marketing. So this is going to help us to ensure that demand or possible clients really finds you in the direct way. Ensure security of supply and implement brake on spending. The second scenario is called scenario number 2, severe downturn. This is when we have a significant impact in our P&L, profit and losses statement, with likelihood of multi-year effect. Certain business units or channels will not longer operate. So maybe you will choose to close those operations. In the meantime, you get the level of recovery. So in this case, actions like employ aggressive promotion strategies, temporary close locations, implement aggressive cost reductions. And finally, we have the level 3, and we call it liquidity crisis. So this is when we are really in a big problem, and this is gonna depend on how long the seed takes to recover. But in this case, we expect a severe decline in revenue and negative cash flow. So in this case, you can consider permanently closing underperforming business units, adapt and right-size operations, and the most important part is to conserve cash. And I would say that this is the new way to plan in the future, is based on cash flow. So in order to protect against income reduction, we have to develop specific actions to mitigate income reduction. So for example, identify what are the most affected areas, review the current sales portfolio, and work with your team to identify areas of opportunity. In this case, it's also important to identify who among your people and your personnel will be redirected to sales department. So this is going to be something that is going to help you to increase your cash flow, because right now we know that many operations and many support activities are not going to be so crucial as continuing selling your products or services. So for this, we suggest to identify the 80-20 account receivable and focus more specifically on those 20 account receivable that generates 80% of the cash flow. So that's going to be one of the most critical parts to keep your cash healthy. Of course, you have to develop a clear pricing strategy to maximize short and long-term profit potential. It's very important that don't reduce your prices, because you have to keep your value, but you can segment a value-based pricing, and you can develop a dynamic pricing according with the situation. For example, right now in Lean Six Sigma Institute, we are offering specific discounts for our clients in Spain and Italy, where they are really suffering and they really are needing a way to continue doing businesses. Number 4, we have to think about stabilizing operations to the new normal, because right now we are going to create the way we work. The work is not going to be the same again. So we have to track components in terms of finding sources for high-risk geographic locations, work with your suppliers to conduct joint assessments to supply risks. And also, in terms of supply risk, you have to seek the supply chain contracts that work with the minimum order quantities. You cannot keep large quantities in your inventories. That's going to make your cash flow suffer. You have to increase stock levels, of course, when this is possible. in order to don't stop your production or your service. Increase the frequency of delivery to guarantee supply, and evaluate new providers and supply chain collaborators. Many companies are suffering because they are not receiving components from Asia. So that's something you have to consider. Also, of course, you need to adapt labor resources. For example, you need to increase labor, increase hiring fewer critical role personnel if possible, increase capacity for teams to interact with customers. Sometimes you need to decrease labor, consider the possibility of temporarily rearranging labor resources across business units as needed, and also load balancing. For this, it's very important that workers now learn different activities in order to balance work with multifunctional activities. You can also organize the different color teams. For example, you can form red and blue teams, so you can divide core functions to assign them to teams that work every 2 days. For example, one team works for 2 days, the other team works for another 2 days. So if there is any people infected in a specific team, then you can recognize which team is that, and then you can continue operations with the other team. So in order to prepare for recovery, what's going to happen after? So right now the curve is flattened. So right now we can say that we are in the top risk area, but now we are going to start recovery. So compared with the 1919 and the 2009 crisis, the big difference about this crisis is that this is not caused by an economic or war related. So we can say that this economic crisis is like an induced coma to the economy. It's an induced coma because governments, they ask for stop the economy instead of having an economic situation that generates this problem. So right now we're going to limit non-essential in-person meetings. We have to think on how to increase remote working. So think about these situations and new needs in order to develop your new normal. We are going to need a more digitalized work and marketplace. In other words, the Industry 4.0 revolution is moving faster than we thought. We are going to move faster, like 5 years faster than what we thought. So people is going to spend more time at home. It's going to be a rise in healthcare products purchasing. Of course, it's going to be an increase in online food delivery and also grocery delivery. So we find ourselves in a world that is going to be different from all we knew before. So we have to prepare for recovery. What's going to happen after this crisis? Of course, we are going to have fewer offline activities, increasing purchase of fitness products and services, because now we are working more at home. The potential losers I will say, are tourist companies, aviation, automotive, at least at this time. Maybe later people is going to choose to go independently to work instead of using public transportation. Construction and real estate is going to be another potential loser. Manufacturing is suffering. Financial services, education in some way, because many schools are stopped already. And finally, oil and gas. But there are also potential winners. I would say any medical supply and service, food processing and retail, personal and healthcare, e-commerce, and also technology. So we can expect more home gyms. We can expect decrease in public transportation and increase in car usage when we go back to our new normal. Increasing food purchases expenses and home delivery. So the biggest challenge right now for the food industry is to provide online customer and home delivery services. The other, we have an example. There is a Michelin star restaurant called A Barra, that is going to boost its catering service at home. So that's a new normal that this restaurant is redesigning. So think about what is going to be happening in your industry, and how are you going to adapt to provide different products or different services than the ones you have been doing in the past. So for instance, we have other clients like Finotex and Dion. They produce clothes and shoes. So right now they are producing medical clothing, that like face masks and scrubs and so on. Louis Vuitton, for example, right now is also producing masks and hand sanitizer. There's a brewery called Baja Brew Masters, close to San Diego, where they are redesigning their factory to adapt an area for production of hand sanitizer. Also, there's going to be a huge need to redesign our medical systems in terms of how we design the facilities, how we design or redesign the patient's flow, how redesign the treatment. Not all treatments are going to be on the hospitals. Right now, part of the treatment is being done at home. So I have, for instance, a friend who works in Amazon. He had coronavirus, and he recovered most of the treatment in his home. So right now he's already back to work, and I can see that not all treatment should happen at the hospital facility. We are gonna think we need to think how diagnosis is gonna happen in terms of using thermography, rapid testing. So in other words, the entire healthcare system is going to change. More online consultations are going to happen, and more follow-up consultations are going to happen. We are going to use more virtual reality to train nurses and doctors. We are going to start using more robots for surgery. We are going to start seeing how big data and artificial intelligence is going to start helping in treating patients, and also recommending treatments or even medications. So in other words, agile organizations are not wanted. Now they are needed. Let me tell you an example. Like 6 or 7 months ago, we started a project with a company that was about to close. This is a big company in Mexico where they were producing die-cast parts, and they decided to do something about it. They decided to become agile. 5 months later, they will in break-even point. And what they say is, we took too long to make a decision of become agile. Right now, becoming agile, becoming lean is not longer an option. So only agile, flexible organization and with outstanding customer service and high level of commitment will thrive. So you have to think, in order to redesign your organization, you have to think on compliant organizations. How these compliant organizations are going to protect customers, protect employees, in order to create this sense of trust, and also how we are going to comply with suppliers. We need to rethink how valuable is the offer we make with our services and with the products. So we need to create better high value offers, thinking that customers, they don't buy products or they don't buy services, they buy functions. So the question is, how can you improve the function of your product or the function of your service, and also reducing the cost? So we have to think on redesigning products and services without lowering the price, without increasing the value. We need to think about new digital products so we can provide high value offers and immediate access. So think about your products. How many of them or services are digital products? So you have to think in new sales channels become more accessible through different platforms. Digital marketing, I would say that this is going to be one of the biggest game changers. Digital marketing increase customer engagement and improve their experience. Social responsibility is going to be one of the most critical parts of branding, because now we care about communities and the environment. And finally, digital transformation, how your company is using technology to become more efficient and productive. So as we know, work from home right now is going to be different. Now we have to think how we design our activities by combining home activities and also office activities. At the end, what we think it's going to happen is that we are going to create better lives. People more satisfied in their works, more satisfied at homes. So I think very valuable learnings we are getting. And finally, the cash flow. I also say this because right now, everything will be in terms of planning and management and strategic planning is going to be about cash flow. So from now, more than talking about inventory, sales, and so on, the number one priority is going to be cash flow. So we are going to start constantly monitoring cash inflows and outflows. So I wanted to give you an example of one of our clients that they completely redesigned their business model. They used to be an industrial laundry where they used to pick up clothing from hospitals and gyms, all kind of this clothing for doctors and surgeries and so on that needs to be not only clean but needs to be disinfected. So normally they used to receive an order, pick up the clothes, wash, sterilize, iron and pack, then deliver the order and collect the payment. So what was new about that specific business model? Nothing new. So they completely redesigned the value offer and they created a platform. So right now they develop healthcare medical vending machines where they and deliver all their products to these vending machines or healthcare medical vending machines. When they are going to monitor inventory levels, this is an activity that previously was made by the customer. Now they offer this activity, solving this problem to the customer. They are going to replenish any clothing that when is needed. They are going to be responsible for store inventory, count inventory. They are going to pick up the clothes that they need to wash, sterilize, iron, and pack. Of course, they are going to conduct deliveries not every week, but every day. And the machine itself is going to collect the payment. As you see, they completely moved their business from an industrial laundry company to a medical supply platform. Right now, they sell the platform to other medical suppliers. So the business completely changed by using technology. As you can see, this is a very, very interesting case where companies are completely redesigning their business model by using technology, by becoming lean and becoming agile. And this is my final slide. Many things are going to change in the 19 crisis. After the First World War, and many things changed after the war. Many things happened after the Second War, like the healthcare system for many countries were designed and developed at that time, and this is something is going to change again. So I would have to say that lean healthcare systems are going to be developed from now, where more highly effective agile systems with everyone can interact and improve is going to happen. So in future webinars, I would like to explain how a lean healthcare system will work. Educational system, this is another system that is completely going to change. In the past, some universities, schools, and colleges were reluctant to change to use technology. Right now, we can see how our childs are taking lessons. Even universities keep working only those that were prepared in advance. So educational system is going to change. I think more opportunities are going to come where we know that all the content and all the theory can be placed in the cloud with systems, and teachers are going to be now coaches to guide students on the best possible way to use the knowledge. Economic system is going to change completely. Political system is going to change completely. So as you can see, many business are going to change completely, are going to redesign their business model. But something I want to say just to end is that there is no chance for traditional companies where they are just waiting for customers to come and order. Now we have to rethink by using technology. We think to rethink our business by making everyone in the company to interact in just one business unit instead of different functions working separate. And now decision making is going to be made by teams, not by just managers. So many things are going to change. So I encourage you to think what's going to happen and how your company or organization is going to change, and mainly what are you going to do about it. So thank you very much. I hope you can have some ideas on what to do. Of course, I would like to see if there are any questions or comments, and of course, I would like to ask you to push like or to send this conference or webinar to somebody else that you think it can be helpful. And please expect for some other webinars where we want to provide value by helping companies, organizations to redesign the way they work and to provide more value for the people. Okay, here is a question. How do you propose to start this path for transformation? So very, very interesting question. I would say that first, as I mentioned during the presentation, is to find different scenarios and define from every scenario what kind of actions are you going to conduct. So the example I gave is defining 3 different scenarios. Number 1, damage. Number 2, severe downturn. And number 3, liquidity crisis. Every scenario depends on what's the level of growth that we expect. Once we reach that parameter of growth, then we have to define what kind of activities are we going to develop. Within every scenario, you have to define. I'm going to give you my presentations where you will find specific symptoms that you need to detect, like for example, significant impact in the P&L with likelihood of a multi-year effect, certain business unit channels not longer operating, and so on. So once you define your model income, you define your specific actions. In terms of recovery, what I will suggest is to start analyzing your value proposition. What kind of value are you trying to offer right now, and how this value that you offer is related by using technology. I would have to say, like 2 years ago, in Lean Six Sigma, we used to do everything on site, and this question came to my mind, and I said, well, we don't have really online courses, so we started to prepare to define what's going to be our new value proposition. So my suggestion is to analyze what's your value proposition, to analyze what kind of different needs are going to be needed in the future, and how your business is organized or is prepared for that. So how your business is prepared for developing new digital products or new digital services. Second is going to be to define what are going to be your new channels, how to become more accessible to your customers. And for this, I will suggest you that you have to work with your team to develop different ideas on what new channels can we conduct. You will surprise on how many great ideas are you going to receive from your team. For example, in our team here in San Diego, we receive great ideas on changing or from organizing activities to sell products. So most of the people right now is focused part of their time right now in selling, not only on supporting activities. So digital marketing is going to be another very, very, very important action to take. In terms of increasing your customer engagement and improve their experience. So that's going to be something very important. The next step is going to be analyzing how your company is social responsible and how this social responsibility is helping communities and the environment. And maybe the most important one is to not delay the digital transformation in your company. So many activities can be optimized by using tools, technological tools like robots or digital robots and so on. So digital transformation is going to be another one. And finally, how to design the work from home. All these suggestions, of course, are going to be supported by a good analysis of your cash flow. Remember, now the key word or the key word is going to be cash flow. How can we protect cash flow for the future that is coming? I would say that we expect a fast recovery if we don't have any second coronavirus wave. And I think at the end of this year, we are going to have break-even point companies that they are really working on being agile. Thank you very much for your comments. I hope in the next presentation you can see my PowerPoint presentation. But of course, I can send you. I've been receiving some emails. Thank you very much for your comments. Oh, okay. Here is another question. How can we change a company into agile company? Are we late to change? Well, I would say that never is late. Never is late. Especially when we have these kind of challenges, people in the companies are really moving fast. When we are doing just a transformation and regular training, people is not moving with that speed that they would like. But right now there is no option. Now is live or die. So my suggestion for this is first to establish a pilot area where you can practice the knowledge of the basic tools. You'll find that by using the basic tools, like some of them you will see in my presentation, like 5S, standardized work, and which is visual management, you are going to start seeing results. So in a future webinar, we are going to interview one of our clients that made a complete turnaround of his company in just 5 months. So that's why I say it's never late to change. Maybe it's the best time to encourage this change because now there is no option. But if you want, I can send you a PowerPoint slide where we have the specific steps and specific actions to make in terms of conducting a company transformation. What do you think lessons learned from the times will be in the long term? How business will integrate these experiences into their DNA for future challenges? Well, that's an interesting question. I think the lessons learned here is that first we need to prepare in advance for a continuity business plan. That's something most of the companies, I would say maybe just 10% out of the 500 fortunes are thinking. So that would be one of the biggest lessons learned, that most of the companies, they need to prepare their business continuity plan. Another lesson that we have to learn here is how to design our work in order to be more productive without letting people just to focus on themselves, but how to design the process or design their work related with the team effort. Now, another lesson to learn is that decision making is not made by individuals, it's made by teams. And when this happens, decision making has the better opportunity to be a good decision. Great. I hope the next presentation you can see my PowerPoint. But I really appreciate your comments and also your questions. And I can see I have some emails coming from you. Thank you very much for your comments, and great to see. Jaime, James Medina, thank you very much. I hope I can also send I'm gonna prepare a video in English with my presentation, so you can see the presentation and see the video later. I'm really sorry about this. This is my first webinar by using this tool, so my apologies for this. That's another lesson. Yeah, this presentation is gonna be saved for future views. I hope if you like it, you can share it with other friends and colleagues. That'd be very, very, very good. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I hope, as I can see, many of you can take the time to see the next one. I'm gonna make some tests in advance so you can be prepared. But thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, I can keep in contact with you guys and also keep providing value by doing some future webinars. Thank you very much.